Hello guys, welcome back again to another tutorial. My name is Dorothy. In today's video we'll be making a uniform for a boarding school student. It's called compound wear here. If you're interested in learning how to do this, please watch this video to the end so that you don't miss out on any detail or explanation. This uniform is very simple but very detailed because we'll be making use of the basic body blocks. That's why you need to watch this video to the end so that you don't miss out on any detail. Without further ado, let's get started with the video. I will be using this uniform material. I don't know what it is called, maybe check, but you can get it anywhere in the local shop or in the market. Yes, and I'm using 2 yards of it. Now I'm going to fold this fabric into two so that we can work on the front pattern or front piece. I have folded this fabric into two, as you can see. To get the width of this fold so that you don't end up wasting fabric, you simply divide your hip measurement by 4. The reason why we are using the hip is because the hip is the largest body parts for this dress, for this uniform here. So you divide it by 4, then you add 3 to 4 inches sewing allowance. Then for the length of this uniform is 41, then I added 2 inches hemming allowance to it, making it 43. On this end here, I'm going to roll a horizontal line, and this line is going to be serving as the shoulder line. Let me retrace this line so that it will be visible enough. So from this shoulder line, I'll be marking all the vertical points, which is the bust point, the waist point, the hip point, and the length of the dress. So I simply placed my tape rule on the shoulder line and I came down by 10 inches for the bust point. From the shoulder to the waistline is 16 inches, I marked that. Then from the shoulder to the hip line is 24 inches, I marked that line as well. And after that, I took the length of the dress, which is 43 inches like I said earlier. Then I'll go ahead and use my ruler to connect this point that I marked horizontally. So here on the shoulder line, I'll be taking my neckline measurement, and the neck width I am working with is 3.5 inches. I marked that, while the neck depth is 4 inches. Now I'll use my chalk to connect the 2 points together to create a round neckline, just the way you see me doing. After marking the neckline measurement, still on this shoulder line, I divided the shoulder measurement I am working with by 2 and I marked it. The shoulder measurement I am working with is 14. 14 divided by 2 is 7. From this point, I mark the shoulder measurement. I'll come down by 1/2 inch for the shoulder slant. Then I'll go ahead and connect a slant line from my neckline all the way to the 1/2 inch point that I came down by. On this 1/2 inch point I marked for the shoulder slant, I'll come down from there by 7 inches for the armhole line. Now to get the armhole line, you simply divide your bust circumference by 6 plus 1.5 inches. So whatever the result is, that is the armhole line measurement. Then I connected the 2 points together on a straight line, which will serve as the armhole line. Then I also extended the line horizontally, just the way you see me doing. And this horizontal line will serve as the chest line. On this armhole line, I divided it into 2 and I marked the midpoint. On that midpoint, I came in by 1/2 inch, and this 1/2 inch point is just to eliminate any form of gaping in the front armhole. Then on the chest line, I divided the round bust measurement that I'm working with by 4 and I marked it. Now I'll use my curve ruler to connect the 3 points together to create the armhole curve. Now to take our body measurement, here on the bust point, I divided the round bust measurement I am working with by 4 and I marked it. Then I added 2 inches sewing allowance to it. Then on the waistline, I also divided my waist measurement by 4 and I marked. Then I also added 2 inches sewing allowance to it. On the hip line, I'll be doing the same thing as well. I'll simply divide my hip measurement by 4 and I'll mark it. Then I will add 2 inches sewing allowance to it. After that, I'll use my chalk to connect all these points together, just the way you see me doing, to get the body shape. So here on the length of the dress, I'll be marking my hip measurements there. That is, I'll divide my hip by 4 and I'll mark it. Then I'll add 2 inches sewing allowance to it. After that, I'm going to use my straight ruler to connect from my hip line all the way down to the length of the dress. For the slit on the both side, I'll go out on this length by 2 inches. I want the slit to start at 35 inches. So from the shoulder line, I came down by 35 inches and I make a mark there. Then on that 35 inches point, I'll go out by 2 inches, just like I did for the length of the dress. Now I'll go ahead and cut this out. This is all for the front piece. The next thing I'll be doing is to fold another pieces of fabric that I will be using to draft the back pattern. So guys, this is what I have after I was done folding another pieces for my back pattern. So the next thing is to place my front pattern on it, just like this. Make sure that you arrange it very well and make sure that all the lines are well aligned. For the back neckline, the neck depth I am working with is 1.5 inches and I make a mark there. The neck width remained the same, 3.5 inches. Now I'm going to use my chalk to create a round neckline all the way to make my neck width. Then I'll cut this out. This dress doesn't have zipper, but we'll be putting button at the back of the dress so that our head will be able to pass through the neck. So now I'm going to cut this out. The front and the back piece are the same. The only difference is just the back neckline. So we are done drafting the front and the back piece. The next thing I'll be doing off camera is cutting facing for both of the pieces. So guys, to sew this, I'll just place my front piece like this, then I'll place my facing on it, right side facing each other. Then I'll take this over to the sewing machine and I'll go ahead and sew the neckline. I'm going to do the same thing to my back piece, but for my back piece I had to iron the neckline very well so that I can get the midpoint, and that's the grease line you are seeing there. Now we'll be putting loop at the back, so on that grease line from the neckline I'll mark 3 inches downward, then I'll cut that open, and I'll do the same thing to the facing as well. I'll just cut the midpoint as well. I have this rope that I've cut out. I'll be using it to do the loop, so I'll just place this loop on the neck here, then I'll use my pin to pin it together. After that, I'm going to place my facing on the neckline just the way you see me doing, right side facing each other. Then I'll go over to the sewing machine and I'll sew the neckline all the way to the loop, just the way you see me directing. That's how I'll be sewing it. This is what I have after I was done stitching the facing to the front piece. So on this neckline here, I'll just go ahead and notch so that when I turn it over to the right face, it will relax properly. Then I went ahead to turn this over to the right face. I arranged the neckline very well. Then I'll take this to the ironing table and I will iron it flat. I did the same thing to the back piece as well. After sewing the facing, I went ahead to notch this midpoint here. Then I also notched the neck area. After that, I turn this over to the right face, arrange the neckline very well, then I'll take this to the ironing table and I will iron it flat. This is what I have my neckline looking like after I was done ironing. You can see how neat and how relaxed the neckline is. So the next thing I'll be doing is to place my front piece on the back piece, right side facing each other. Then I'll go ahead and join the shoulder. So what I'll do is I'll place my front shoulder on the back shoulder like this. Then I'll carry the facing from the back shoulder and cover up for the front shoulder, just the way you see me doing. I'll head over to the sewing machine and I'll sew it, and I'll do the same thing to the second side. Place my front shoulder on the back shoulder, remove the facing and cover the front shoulder just the way you see, and I'll sew it. So this is what I have after I was done sewing the shoulder. You can see how neat this is. This is the rough edges that is inside. This gives the shoulder a perfect inseam finishing. So the next thing I'm going to do is to work on the sleeve. So I arranged my front and my back armhole properly. Then I measured from the shoulder all the way around the armhole to see what I have. And when I did this, I had 10 inches. So you can measure this for as many times as you want just to get the accurate measurement. So I measured the second armhole again just to be sure that the both figures are accurate. And when I did this, I had the same 10 inches. I have these pieces that I'll be using to cut my sleeve, so I folded these pieces into 4 because I'll be cutting the both sleeves together. I arranged this properly, made sure that the edges are in place, so go ahead and do the same thing. On this border edge, I'll use my scissors to trim it out. Then from the top here, I'll come down by 4 inches for the bicep measurement. Then I'll use my free hand to just create my sleeve curve or the armhole curve on the sleeve like this. After creating the armhole curve on the sleeve like this, I'll go ahead to measure it, and when I did this, I had the 10 inches that I needed. I make a mark there, then I added half an inch sewing allowance to it just in case. The sleeve length I am working with is 5 inches, so from this sleeve cap here, I measured down to 5 inches and I make a mark there, then I added 2 inches hemming allowance, then I connect the point like this. On this point, I'm going to divide my round sleeve by 2, and which I had 5.5 inches, then I make a mark, then I added half an inch sewing allowance. After that, I used my chalk to connect the 2 points together, then I went ahead to cut this out. Now we have our two sleeves ready, so I folded it back into 2 equal halves, then I notched the midpoint, that's the cap midpoint. Then on the length of the sleeve I'm going to fold it as well. After that I'm going to place my sleeve on the armhole just the way you see me doing. Just watch what I am doing and you will get it. So I simply place the midpoint of the sleeve that I notched on the shoulder joining, that is where my shoulder are joined together. Then I will arrange the sleeve on the armhole area like this, then I'll go and stitch it, and I'll do the same thing to the second sleeve as well. So guys, this is what I have after I was done joining the sleeve to the dress. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to arrange the front and the back piece together, right side facing each other. I make sure that I arrange everything properly and all the edges are in place. Then I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and I will sew this side, and I'll be sewing this side by the 2 inches sewing allowance that I left. So when I do this, I'll bring it so I see what I have done. This is what I have after I was done sewing the side. I started all the way from the sleeve down to the length, that is this 35 inches where my slit will start. Now for this slit allowance that I left, I'm just going to fold it in like this, then I'll go and run a top stitch on it, and I'll do the same thing to the second side as well. After that, I will hem the length of this dress. The next thing I'll be doing is to weave the inner so that I'll have a better and neater finishing. So guys, this is what I have after I was done weaving the inner, and I also went ahead to hem the length of the dress. You can see how neat this is. Let me turn this over to the right face so that you see what it looks like. So guys, this is what it looks like in the right face. The last thing that I'll be doing is I'll be fixing the button at the back. So this is what it looks like after I was done using my needle to fix the button. So let me fix this on the look. You can see how neat this looks. Thank you so much for watching this video. If this video was helpful, do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you have any question concerning this tutorial, please leave your question in the comment section and I will attend to it. For now, bye. See you all in my next one.